Hey everybody, this is Evan Abrams, and it's wedding season. It's that time of year when people stand up in front of their friends and family and bet each other half their stuff that they'll love each other forever. And to go along with that special event, why not have a wedding video with some lovely banners, like these ones, which are pretty great. I'll show you how to make them in this After Effects tutorial, but you know the real thing that makes a good wedding video is an open bar.
Alright, so this project doesn't start in After Effects, and even though I have Illustrator open, doesn't really start there either, but, you know, for the sake of having something on the screen, that's what we'll start with. So, I'm making a new document in Illustrator. This document is the HDV 1080 size, which would make it 1920 by 1080, or a nice 1080p frame size. Cool. And, you know, all these settings are great, and I've gone ahead and turned the transparency grid to off. Okay, so that means that I'm going to have these lines here that, you know, show you the title and action safe, but you don't have that nasty checkerboard in the background. So now I would like to go File, Place, and I'm going to place down the drawing of a banner. Woo, just like that. And I'm just going to rotate this, just scale that up, whoop-de-doo. So you can see the relative drawing ability that I have, pretty low, but, you know, it doesn't matter. A lot of it comes out fine in the wash. But the point of doing it this way is to show you that any banner that you can draw, we can then animate using this technique. So that's why we're starting from a drawing, and we're going to go from there. So when it comes down to, you know, how do I actually draw one of these things, try to imagine sort of like angled rectangles that are cutting through here, and then we're just drawing a squiggly line, whee, like that, and then another squiggly line, whee, under it like this, and then we just cap the ends, and then we're done. So we've brought this into Illustrator so we can trace over it. In order to do that, you're going to want to make a new layer, lock that layer that's in the back, and then we're just going to use the pen tool to draw over all of these lines. The way you do that, I prefer to take the pen tool, set your fill to none, set your stroke to a color that doesn't occur on this thing here, and then get drawing. So it's going to set these handles. I am holding down the Alt or Option button to make that go a little bit smoother. And then, you know, just want to go ahead and use as many points as it takes to get you where you're going here. Usually one at the midpoint of the line, and then one into the curve here. Now you can also hold down spacebar and drag that point around, you know, if you really want to. Okay, so once you've traced around this entire shape, you might want to just put the stroke up so you can see what you've done a bit better. Now you will also want to draw lines that cap off the ends here. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, Evan, you've drawn too many lines. We don't need all of these stupid lines. We're never going to see all of them. Well, yes and no. You want to draw enough lines so that you have all of the supposed geometry that you're going to want to animate. So since we want to animate the back first, and then the front part, and then this back part, and then this front part, and then this back part, we need to draw all of them. So now we want to turn these lines into some shapes. So I'm going to select everything. I'm going to hit K, which brings up the live paint mode. I'm just going to use the arrow keys to, you know, move through and find some colors that I'm happy to work with. So then I'm just going to click in these spaces and fill them in. So whoosh, this is the back part of this. Right on. And the back part of that. And then the back part of this. So there we go. So those are the back parts taken care of. You're going to want to select this, go down here, drag this onto the Make New button, select the top one, hit K again, and you want to go to this. It is making sure you're filling with the no fill. So you're going to go back and just remove all of the fills. Hooray. And don't look at that second one. Don't look at the filled one. You're going to make a new fill. All right. So now we'll pick a color that we enjoy that is different than that first color. And we're going to fill in the front sections. Awesome. Just like that. So now we have filled in front sections, filled in back sections. Okay. Looks pretty simple and nothing like what we want in the end, but just relax. We're going to get there. We will get there. Now we are going to take both of these, select them. You can click and drag and select or whatever, select them over here. Now we're going to go Object, Expand everything. And now we're going to go Object and Ungroup, Object, Ungroup, Object, Ungroup until nothing is in a group anymore. Now we're going to select one of these pink paths. All right, I guess that one. Now we're going to go Select, Same, Appearance, and delete them all. We don't want any of them. All right, so those are all gone, and we can stop looking at that picture back there, and things are looking good. Now we want to select basically all of these yellow ones that are together, and then we are going to use the Pathfinder to merge them all together by clicking this. We're going to unite them, which makes them all into one shape. All right, do the same for these yellow ones. Cool, unite them. So we're going to create a new layer, and we're going to move these top pieces onto their own layers, and then stop looking at them, because nothing is more annoying than looking at people's happy unions. Okay, so we are going to do the same with these, selecting them, unioning them, unionizing, putting together, whatever, that. So there we go. And, make sure these go on their own layers as well. And now let's look at them all. Just look at them all. Select them all, and then let's just hit the default button here. So what do we have? We've got, we've got these banners. We've got front and back on them. They are now the default with a fill and a stroke on each of these shapes. So I think that we are ready to go from here into After Effects. If there are any other stylish things you want to do, maybe make this stroke, a bit larger, crank it up to a whole whopping 1 centimeter. Sure, do whatever you feel. But it's time to move on. Save this. We are going to save this as Toot Banners or whatever. Save it as whatever you care about and hit OK. Awesome. Now we're going to go into After Effects here, and we're going to create a new composition, a new project, whatever, and we're going to import those banners, open them up. Toots Banners. So we would like to import it as a composition, have the footage dimensions be the layer size. Hit OK. So we go here into the Toot Banners, and what I'd like to do is right-click and create shapes from them. Now, I just wanted to do this so that you can see one of the most common problems that people run into when they turn vector layers into shape layers. The first is, where did it go? It's created something, but where is it? Well, it's way over here, which is not at all where I wanted it. That is not even close. But why is it doing that? Well, that is because, if we go back here, this thing has 2 artboards in it, which we don't want. So we go here into the document setup, we go to edit artboards, and you can see we have 1 artboard here, and then 1 artboard out here, which are basically defining the reference points of, where the artwork is in relation to other things. So just delete artboard number 2. Not totally sure why it exists, but it does, and it annoys me. So we delete it, we hit save, we go back in here, and all of these will have been updated with that new saving that we did. So now we can take them, right click, and create some shapes from them without hassle. And then you can delete all the layers that they came with, because we don't need them anymore. They are dumb. So now we have all of these shapes, which is great. So I'd like to select the top shapes, and I'm going to pre-compose those. Hit pre-compose and call these top banners. Awesome. And the ones on the bottom, logically, I'm going to change them to be called something else. Pre-compose bottom banners, keeping it all organized. So now you can differentiate between the top things and the bottom things. Big thumbs up on that one. Now let's style the bottom banners. That could be fun. So we're going to go in here. We're going to select all of these. we would like them to have a fill and a stroke. Make the stroke of them white. Awesome. And we're going to duplicate them. I hit Command D to do that. And the duplicates show up on top of the other ones. We're going to take their fill away, so no fill for them. And on the bottom layers, the filled in ones, we are going to go over here and we are going to use the old Venetian blinds on them. So what does this do? Well, basically Venetian blinds puts lines through things. So let's turn that checkerboard background off so you can see what I'm doing. But yeah, that's what it does. So you'll want to play around with the relative thinness of these things, till you get it to something that you're fine with. For me, I like these settings. If you don't like these settings, then good for you. So copy that and paste it onto those. Cool. And you may want to thicken up that stroke to a whopping 5 pixels on there. Cool. So now we have that sort of pattern that you saw in the example. Neat. Or at least we've got the basis for that pattern. The pattern looked a little bit more interesting when I did it. Anyway, so I'm just toggling on and off the transparency grid so you can see what that's all about. And now we move on to the top banners. So we're going to go into those. Same thing. We want the stroke on here to be white and the stroke size to be 5. That's cool. And yeah, so we've got some white banners. Now we need to put some text on there. And it needs to be text that we can then animate, having this whooshing shape, this whoo, like that. So first thing I want to do is type out something. Should really look at my keyboard more, or just learn to type better. So sort of position that around here. I'm just going to call up the title and action safe to give me sort of a good idea of where I'm at. Neat. And then let's go to the align panel, sticker in the center. Awesome. Now I'm going to pre-compose this and move all the attributes into this new thing. Cool. And let's call this text 1. Cool. I'm down with that. So now anything we have in here will now be stuck inside this composition, and then we're going to apply a warp to it. And I would like to use the mesh warp on that. The mesh warp is something pretty near and dear to me, because the mesh warp will warp the bounds of this thing based on sort of the bounding box of whatever it's warping. So let me just set the rows, columns of that, and now I can go ahead and I can pull this over here, and I can warp the edges of it here so that the word something is appearing inside here. So and you see how it is warping to be the shape of where these handles are at. So that's what you want to do. You want to sort of bend and shape this text until it comes into the shape that you would expect, so that it makes sense with the shape that it is currently occupying. All right. Now you may have to add some more columns depending on the complexity of your specific shape. Really depends on what you've got. And the more you play with it, the better it'll work. That's not true of everything. Okay, so we have this text, and I'm sure you'll do a way better job than me. You also need to animate it. So in here, I'm just going to call up its position, and I'm going to set a keyframe by clicking on the stopwatch here, and move this keyframe, which is the desired end state, ahead, and set it a nice start keyframe, like so. I think about 10 frames is enough, so there we go. I'm going to the graph editor for those frames, and then I'm going to alter the shape to be like this. So, you click on this button here to get some handles, and then you pull said handles, and whoop-de-woo, you've got a much more interesting way of animating things on. And we'll probably alter the timing of this at a later step. But, then when you go back here, you can see how that comes in. Woo! So it's, it's like it's got kind of the shape of this thing. So that's neat. So, so far so good, I think. Let's look here at the banners. What do we got going on? Woo! All right. I mean, it's coming in a bit fast, but at this point, who really cares? So, let's get to work on the rest of this problem. That would be, namely, that you need to now use masks to go over this thing and animate each of these on. So I'm going to make some masks, and I'm just going to use the pen tool here to click and define, around here, get around this shape, kind of like that, and then just make sure that I'm using sort of the fewest amount of points possible. You don't want to clutter this part up with too much. Cool. And go into the masks here, set that to none, and then you can do this part. Animating masks, the horrible tedium of manual animation. All right, so set both of these to add now, and I will show you how to do this first one, and then you do the rest of them yourselves, okay? Does that sound like a good trade? So we set the stopwatch here on the mask path because this is the desired end state, all right? And this is the pink one we're looking at. Now you're going to go back in time, and you are going to go to the second last state that it should be in, which is probably this. And then you'll go back in time to whatever it should look like before that. So I guess that would be like this. And then you want to go back in time, moving the playhead, and then you select these, and then you go back to the time before that. Now you also want to span these out so that they make a bit more sense in the flow of their animation. All right, so something like this perhaps. Let's then take these last two keyframes here. I'm going to ease them. I just hit F9 to accomplish that. Kind of smooth it out. Then I hold down Control and I turn these into circles, which smooths them just a little bit as well. And now I might want to tighten this up. I don't know, kind of like this. I think this is fine. There you go. You've got something animating on. Now you do what I did to the rest of them, and I'll do that in super fast motion. Okay, so now you should have everything pretty well animated. Now you just need to time them and sequence them so the animation makes sense. So starting at the top, we go whoosh, and then the next one comes in. I guess it's this pink one. Cool. And then it'll be this middle one here. Okay. And then followed up by this one, followed up by this last one. Okay, and then play that back and see what you think. Seems okay. I mean, it's not the greatest thing that I've ever seen, but one of the things you can do to kind of make this a little bit better is overlap these a little bit. So just observe here how there's never like a pause, so it continues going, as opposed to if it's like this where there's kind of a delay before anything starts happening. So you want to get rid of those frames of nothingness by just overlapping these slightly, just making sure that there's always something going on. So and it's that continuous motion that's going to really kind of make this a little bit better. So this one really needs to pick up the pace, I think. Okay, there we go. So now we can go about looking for any problems. Oh, here's one. See a sharp jag there. Not into that. So believe that is the fault of the top layers here. So what you want to do is go in and look for little burrs like that, and you can get rid of them by just going to their strokes in here, and making sure that you have round joints and you have round caps, for example. So you want to make sure that's on things. So go into this stroke, and we go round cap, round join, and suddenly those burrs all go away. So there you go. It's just, if you have burrs on yours, then that's how you can go and you can nip them. But that likely won't be a problem once we move on to the next phase of this particular thing. So that's going to be taking this toot banners and putting it on top of stuff. So we got toot banners, drag them out, they animate on. Let's grab some footage and put it behind there. All right, I'll use the use the takes that didn't make it into the intro. We'll just go with that. I know a lot of people like to think that I do things in one take, but it's just not so. So here we go. We've got something over top of somebody's face. Awesome. And in the example, we had sort of like a grungy texture that ate up some of this, making it look kind of old-timey. So the way I did that was I just went new, solid, and then it doesn't really matter the color of the solid, make it whatever, because we're going to cover over it using turbulent noise. All right, and then we jacked up the contrast on this up into like the thousands, and then we jacked up the brightness of it so that there weren't as many spots, for example. And we put this under the toot banners. All right, and now here's the big thing, the big finish here. We set this to be screen, and then we set the track mat here to be the luma mat of what's above it. All right, and that is the radness. That, as you can see, anything that was black on that thing is now see-through, and yeah, that's the trick. That's how you make these holes. So the next thing that we did was we messed around with the toot banners, and we just make them look nicer. So we use a roughen edges. All right, and we take the border down on that, which will reduce the size on either end of the alpha that is looking to mess stuff up. And then we go into the edge sharpness, dial that down a little bit, dial the fractal influence down a bit maybe, and maybe you can stand to have this border even lower for your own purposes, but I don't know what you're doing. It's all up to you. Now we're going to alter the scale to be lower scale, 50% maybe. That's cool. And I'm going to use an old turbulent displace on this bad boy here, because though roughen edges messes up the edges, it doesn't do much for the stuff that's in the middle. The words aren't getting wobbly. So let's put this down to 15 and 10. I think that'll do it for me. And let's have a look at what we got. It's looking quite a bit more hand-drawn, so that's pretty good. And you'll want to tweak these to your own level of interest. What else could be fun? You're probably going to want to put on a fast blur as well. Just set that to a 1 just to fuzz things out a little bit. But yeah, I think that is about it. So I showed you 2 variations in the intro. So variation number 1 was black text on white. But what if you want to do the reverse of that, right? What if you want to go into these top banners, you want this text to be white? Cool, so just go in here and, make this text white, like this. Well, that means that these need to have a black fill, so go in there, change the fill to black. Awesome. And now we go back out here. But a new problem has arisen that here, this, because it's being defined by a mask, doesn't have like a line on it. And if we were drawing like a cartoon, I would bet there would be a line there. So let's add one of those by going in here to where things are getting masked, and we're just going to apply to this layer styles stroke, and that'll put a stroke around everything after the mask. So now we've got that stroke on there. We want that stroke to be white. Okay, we want it to be size 5, we want it to be on the inside. So let's do that. So stroke of 5 on the inside, you don't notice it because it overlaps with the existing stroke, but it does apply a new one to any of these cut off edges. So you see how it just throws that in there. Cool. So I think we are almost done. Almost. The last thing to do is to time up where we have the words something coming in. So let's go into the top banners here, and we're going to move these so that they don't start until later. Where we like this one to start? Well, just go ahead. Maybe it should start around here. Go back into top banners, move that here, and let's go into the text here and just make this last a little bit longer by dragging its keyframes out. Go back to the original comp here. And there you go. Instant romance. La 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 la. Pretty neat. That's pretty neat stuff. So you can watch that back and see how you enjoy it. In mine, what I also did was went that extra step and I went layer, time, enable time remapping. I found the point at which the total animation has stopped. I set a keyframe there. I set both of these to be easy eased keyframes. And then I sort of accelerate the motion by pinching these together. And then I go into their graph editor, and the thing about time is that you never want it to reach 0, or at least in this instance, I don't want it to reach 0. So what I do want it to do is to be at 1. So at 1 second per second, right there. I'd like it to get faster than this and then return to regular time. So whoosh. That way, we never dip below 1 second per second, just because I don't want it to go any slower than I remember. If you do, then, just leave them like this and don't worry about it. But that could cause some unsettling sort of slowness at parts for you. But, if you're fine with that, then do whatever. So time remap to your heart's content. Because you are time remapping all things that have keyframes, then you are safe for it to sort of make up frames in between without much jumping around. So I think that's it. That's the 2 variations, the black on white and the white on black. To create these, you've got texture, I think that's everything. So this has been Evan Abrams showing you how to make these fancy pants banners. Banners never get unpopular. If you want to see the other banner tutorials I have on here, you should definitely check those out. And if you've enjoyed learning about After Effects and motion graphics, then you should subscribe to this channel. There's new content here all the time. You should leave me a question in the comments section of this video if you have troubles. I try to get to them whenever I can. And if you have more general queries about After Effects, then hit me up on Twitter at ECAbrams or on the Facebook page or the Google Plus page. Links to all of that are in the description. And head on over to evanabrams.com and check out some of the cool things I have for download over there. I think you'll like them. Anywho's, hopefully you've enjoyed this. Hopefully you make some pretty fancy banners with what you're doing out there in the big wide world. Get out there and enjoy your friends' weddings. Get drunk at them because it's not your wedding. And have a good time. This has been Evan Abrams. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.